provide immediate representation for her after the vote. Now, interesting to note that Donald Trump has been complaining about Ms. Wolf ever since the 2020 election, and Republicans have been making efforts to remove her in anticipation of the 2024 election. They want to have someone in that job that they have greater control over. And Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, his administration issued its own COVID-19 vaccine recommendations this week, and these recommendations directly contradict federal officials' guidance. And this is all being done as DeSantis' presidential campaign tries to use the resurgence of the coronavirus to appeal to Republican voters. Now, DeSantis' administration advised that Florida residents under the age of 65 should skip the updated booster that's been approved by the FDA and recommended by the CDC. DeSantis, whose presidential campaign has floundered amid money troubles and mass layoffs, has frequently appealed to COVID-19 related concerns among the Republican base. The White House has a strategy with respect to the impeachment inquiry that has been greenlit by Kevin McCarthy. And according to the White House, they are going to fight politics with politics. The White House says it's battling the inquiry in the court of public opinion since House Republicans have not issued any new subpoenas or laid out any potential articles of impeachment. Julian Epstein, who was the chief counsel for Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee during the Clinton impeachment, said that the president seems to have clearly been aware of, if not actively, enabling his son's efforts to monetize the vice president's office, even if he did not profit personally or use his official power to help. Epstein went on to criticize the White House for not admitting critical information about Joe Biden's relationship to his son. And they say that the failure to do so has caused there to be confusion and perhaps folks to be unsympathetic to Joe Biden, including some in the Democratic Party. Well, the UAW is prepared for a limited strike against Detroit automakers, and that strike could come as early as this Friday. The union's president, Shawn Fain, said negotiators were nowhere near an agreement, and he ruled out a contract extension while talks continued. In its initial proposal to the companies, the union demanded a 40% increase in wages over 4 years. Now, they say that this package is premised on the company's chief executives' salaries, which have risen that much over the last 4 years. The union has also sought regular cost of living adjustments that would nudge wages higher in response to inflation. Vivek Ramaswamy, the Republican presidential candidate whose strident and often unrealistic proposals have helped him stand out in the crowded Republican primary field, said in a policy speech yesterday that if he is elected president, he would fire more than 75% of the federal workforce and shut down several major agencies. Now, he said he would make this change to the federal government unilaterally. He said he believes that the president has incredible executive power to restructure the federal government on his or her own and doesn't need to submit proposals for the restructure to Congress for approval. You'll note that his pitch echoes that of former President Donald Trump, whom he has modeled himself after. Trump also sought to expand political control over the federal workforce near the end of his term. Well, the fall of Roe has touched off a costly political war that Republicans can't avoid. They're caught between part of their base, which is devoted to ending abortion, and voters who are revolting now that this goal is actually in sight. And in other news related to Hunter Biden, prosecutors and FBI agents involved in the investigation have been the targets of threats and harassment by people who think they have not been tough enough on the president's son. This is according to government officials. And it's part of a dramatic uptick in threats against the FBI agents and the agency in general. And this coincides with attacks on the FBI and the Department of Justice by congressional Republicans and former Donald Trump, who has accused both agencies of participating in a conspiracy to subvert justice amid two federal indictments of Trump and two state indictments. You are listening and watching Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions in this hour. I am joined by two regular and, I should say, brilliant and quite handsome contributors, Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. He is KBLA's National Political Affairs Analyst, and he is the host of A More Perfect Union. And starting next week, you will be able to catch A More Perfect Union every day on KBLA at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He's moving from his Sunday slot and joining us on a Monday through Friday schedule. And also in this hour, Isaac Wilson is here. He's a Democratic strategist, and he's chair of the Democratic Party of Florence County, South Carolina. Glad to have both of these brilliant contributors joining me today. And let's talk about hour two. You know, that's the hour where we go deep and we dig behind the headlines on some of the biggest stories that are making headlines and those that have big impact. And today I'm super excited because I'm going to be talking about women and women empowerment. I have a guru who's going to join us. She's been teaching and facilitating self-defense classes for women for years, and actually for decades. She's actually facilitated more than 2,000 classes and workshops for more than 35,000 people. So if you want to know how to defend yourself, how to navigate a world that is male dominated, make sure you stick around for hour two because Lauren Taylor is going to join me, and she's out with a new book. I'm going to talk all about her book and about these classes that she teaches on self-defense and women empowerment. But before I bring on my guest here, so I'm thinking in real time, you know, I talk a lot on this show about reparations, and I was proud to share with the audience that Georgetown University and the Jesuits are continuing to add millions and millions of dollars to a reparations fund that has been set up for the descendants of slaves that were sold and owned by the founders of Georgetown University. Something is the opposite is happening in California. So as we see reparations being paid and millions of dollars being set aside in a fund with respect to Georgetown, the California Congressional Black Caucus is gearing up to launch a statewide campaign to educate its citizens on the critical nature of reparations for Black people, because in a recent poll of Californians, 59% rejected the ideal of cash payments to Black descendants of slavery. And the Congressional Black Caucus is nervous and concerned that this poll does not bode well for potential legislation. Several members of the caucus spent a couple of years on the California Reparations Task Force, going around the state, taking testimony. They wrote in July or issued this massive report with approximately 115 recommendations about how reparations could be made to address the systemic racism, racially charged policies in California that have created generations of discrimination and racial disparities. And they were hoping to go into this legislative term and start legislating with respect to some of these recommendations. And this new poll out is causing the Congressional Black Caucus members to take a step back and say they need to get busy educating members in not only the California legislature, but residents and stakeholders and voters all over the state about reparations. Now, I think that depending on how questions are asked, you can get any number of responses to a poll. I'm not all that concerned about the poll, and I hope our legislators aren't going to look at that poll and determine what they should do around reparations, because this is not a popularity contest. And oftentimes our legislators have to pass laws that aren't necessarily popular at the moment. So I hope this poll doesn't prevent the California legislature, the California governor, from moving forward. I hope they look at that Georgetown example and do the right thing. The report provides ample evidence for the payment of reparations in the state of California. And again, that Georgetown multi-million-dollar fund is a great example that could be used in California. So don't grow weary, Congressional Black Caucus. Keep doing the work, keep educating folks, and we're going to stay on this issue of reparations because obviously it's an issue near and dear to my heart as a civil rights lawyer working on an issue of reparations in Palm Springs, and just someone who believes that Black folks, descendants of slaves, are absolutely deserving. Stay with us when we come forward more of today's trending and breaking news with my expert contributors right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
Tell me I'm the boy that girl. I'm young, gifted, and black.
I'm young, gifted, and black.
And that's a fact.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest spot. Shot with a rest spot. Shot with a rest spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store for the best in new merch?
All right. We are in hour one of Areva Martin in real time, and it is a busy, busy news day. So I'm so elated that Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey and Isaac Wilson are joining me to help us make sense of all of this breaking news. Let's start with this news out of Wisconsin, Isaac. Donald Trump basically was pulling the strings behind congressional Republicans to get Kevin McCarthy to open up this bogus impeachment inquiry. Now there are reports that he is also behind this effort on the part of Wisconsin Republicans to remove the state's elections chief, because he claims after the 2020 election, he lost the state by 21,000 votes. So he's claimed for the last several years that there was massive election fraud. And despite audit after audit and review after review, there was no massive election fraud in Wisconsin. But his cronies in the state house are trying to oust the election chief so that they can appoint someone that is going to, basically kowtow to them in anticipation of the 2024 election. We know Wisconsin is an important battleground state. Wisconsin is also talking about ousting a Democrat who won an election onto its Supreme Court, and also passing some legislation that would prevent the appropriate drawing of congressional maps to, again, deprive Democrats of representation. So, you are a party chair, you're Democratic Party chair in your state. What does a Democratic governor like Governor Evers do in this situation when the state legislature is controlled by Republicans? Isaac, we don't hear you. I think we have some sound.
I think we got it now.
Thank you.
Quite frankly, I think she can't do anything but fight with the lawyers. One thing on the flip side, Governor Whitmire can get involved and make a call to action to the Supreme Court and make this thing a big national thing it already is. And hopefully some of these Republicans who voted 22-11, hopefully some of them will come with good faith and good conscience and say, hold on, this is too much. We're doing too much. Let's back down. We need some Romneys in Wisconsin, and we don't seem to have them. I didn't mean Governor Whitmire. I was thinking about Michigan. But she can't have the governor get involved. I don't think that he is in the mix at this point. It's just senators and representatives. So she needs to have a great conversation with him to see if you want the eyes of your state, the eyes on your state in this climate that you have going on right now. We haven't heard much out of there from Wisconsin, but this doesn't need to be the message that we send across the nation, that Wisconsin governor and Wisconsin citizens are tasked with being one of those states, like a Florida or like a Georgia, who just all in the news for doing the wrong thing. So need to have a great talk with him and see what we can do at the Supreme Court.
I don't know, Dr. Nii, if you can shame Republicans. They seem to not be, they don't seem to respond to shaming. I saw this article, I'm sure you did, Marjorie Taylor Greene. When she goes back to her home state, she's now talking issues. She's not this firebrand, flamethrower that she is in DC. And she's acknowledging that a lot of the antics that she engages in is for DC, for the national media. She knows she almost lost her seat in this last election, and there's a Democrat on her heels to take her out. So we have these Republicans who know that a lot of the antics that they are involved in are not playing well with their constituents, that their constituents want them to govern. But yet, so they've developed these kind of, duplicitous personalities. So in DC, I'm a flamethrower, but then I go home and I act like, a normal legislator. So I don't know if that's going to be the solution in Wisconsin.
Well, it's important to highlight that what's happening, not just with Republicans in Wisconsin, but Republicans across the country, is not normal. It's not normal. Megan Wolf served as the nonpartisan Wisconsin Elections Commissioner since she was appointed in 2018 and confirmed unanimously by the state Senate in 2019. And so, what happened between 2019 and now September 2023? Somebody who was confirmed unanimously in this political universe. Do you know how hard it is in any part of the country to get confirmed unanimously, let alone in a battleground state like Wisconsin? Right. And so, the Republicans are going to have to answer for this. And, salute to her for suing to keep her post and planning to continue in that role while this issue plays out in the courts. This is the kind of posture that I think people of conscience in Wisconsin and across the country want to see more of. They want to see, folks that are doing their job stand up to the bullies. And all that these Republicans are doing in Wisconsin are trying to bully a nonpartisan public worker that's just trying to do their job. They're trying to do their duty in terms of facilitating a free and fair election. And so,
they're cheating. Let's call it what it is. They're cheating.
They are cheating, and that's why I think the governor of Wisconsin needs to use his bully pulpit. He needs to use his bully pulpit to tell this story, to shine a light right now in terms of what they're attempting to do in Wisconsin, now almost a year away from another big election. And so for folks that say, well, his hands are tied, the Republicans, control, a big part of the legislature in Wisconsin. Well, the governor still has the bully pulpit. And you know who else has an even bigger bully pulpit than the governor of Wisconsin? The president of the United States.
Yeah, you're right about that. And speaking of the president, the White House says, Isaac, they're going to fight politics with politics, and they're going to use the court of public opinion and the bully pulpit to push back on this bogus impeachment inquiry. They said that, but just a day or two or so ago, Joe Biden says he doesn't know why he's being impeached. And then he did say, well, I guess it's they're kind of an effort to impeach him as a way of shutting down the government. And I'm thinking, no, that's not why they are impeaching you. They're impeaching you because Donald Trump is telling them to impeach you because he's been impeached twice and he wants you to be an impeached president so that they can try to, make this a choice between two impeached presidents in the 2024 election. Did Joe Biden not know that? Did he have a problem just being honest and coming out fighting, saying, no, this is bogus. This is an effort to try to compare me and put me on the level of 4 times indicted and twice impeached Donald Trump. He didn't say that, though.
I don't understand why Democrats won't fight Republicans. They're bringing a knife to the fight, and they got AK-47s ready and locked and loaded. And so we have to fight fire. And I hope he's telling the truth, that he's going to come out, and he's going to come out with his fist up, swinging, saying, hey, I'm ready to fight because you're only doing this to get even get me even with Donald Trump. And the needle is not even close for what Joe Biden has done to this country and done for this country and what Donald Trump has done. Joe Biden can heal this country and did heal this country. And now Donald Trump is coming back to try to tear it apart. So he needs to come out and make that exchange to the American people that we're not the same. And like you said, tell the truth of why he wants to do this. So when it does happen, or it tries to happen, because I don't think they have the votes to do it, even Republicans say it's bogus, but he needs to tell that story and make that hard and fast, like tomorrow, come out and say that.
So, Nii, the White House sent a memo to editorial boards at all the national media outlets telling them to scrutinize this impeachment inquiry. And, the surrogates out of the White House say they're going to be fighting this in the court of public opinion. But did they not give the memo to the president?
Yeah. I mean, this is a mess. And it is an effort to falsely equivocate, the impeachment of Donald Trump with this bogus impeachment of President Biden. Let's call it what it is. It's a distraction. The Republicans in the House of Representatives apparently aren't interested in governing. Apparently they aren't interested in passing a budget. So by the end of this month, we're going to be staring down another potential government shutdown, right? And so at some point, Democrats need to remind the American people, that the other side doesn't really want to do the job. They want to throw barbs at Democrats, and none of that benefits everyday people who are working their tail off to make ends meet, that are working their tail off to try and keep up with the high cost of living in too many parts of this country. The health care, that is increasingly, becoming less accessible depending on who you are and where you live, right? There is plenty of work that we have to do. And I have not heard a thing that Republicans are doing that would benefit ordinary Americans, right? And so they can go down this road of this bogus impeachment. They can go down the road of trying to get rid of nonpartisan election workers in places like Wisconsin. And I think by November 2024, there's going to be a strong contrast between what Democrats want to do to move this country forward and what Republicans want to do to hold America back.
I think there couldn't be a more, clear contrast in terms of what Democrats have done, the record of Biden, the record of the Democrats versus the Republicans. But my fear is that we aren't telling everyday people, not the folks who are glued to cable news, not the folks who are glued to the New York Times. Someone told me the other day, if I'm counting on people to read the New York Times to get their political news, good luck with that. So, yes, we have this clear record, but we've got to be shouting it from the rooftop because otherwise no one knows what this comparison is. And this impeachment gives us an opportunity to do so. When we come forward, we're going to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy using a page out of Donald Trump's playbook. But did he forget that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election with that same playbook? Also going to talk about this looming strike against the automakers, and Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, has been indicted. We were expecting it. What does this mean for the 2024 election? All when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on your unapologetically progressive radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
Tell me you're the boy that girl. You are young, gifted, and black.
I'm young, gifted, and black.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Connection established. Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, The other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar. Shot with a rest bar. Shot with a rest bar.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Bounce is back.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head. Yeah.
This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the time, brothers. This is the time.
We've got something for everybody.
That's right.
Health and healing, history and humor, issues and events, empowerment and entertainment, all in one station.
What's really going on?
Free enterprise, you dig?
KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We got a lot to talk about.
King Kong ain't got on me.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on your unapologetically progressive radio station.
This is Areva Martin in real time, and this is our news hour. We are tracking today's breaking and trending news, and I have two incredible contributors joining me in this hour. Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, he is a KBLA National Political Affairs Analyst, and he's host of A More Perfect Union, which will air every day, Monday through Friday, starting next week at 1 p.m. PST, and that's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also in this hour, joining me is Isaac Wilson. He's the Democratic strategist and chair of the Democratic Party of Florence County, South Carolina. In hour two, we're going to be talking about women's empowerment with a women's empowerment guru who has trained more than 35,000 people. She's taught them, mostly women, how to defend themselves and also how to navigate a world that is controlled and set up by men mostly. So stick around for hour two. We're going to be talking about strategies that you can use to embrace with confidence a sexist world, and also talking about Lauren Taylor's new book that's out, A Practical Guide to Thrive, Heal, and Embrace Your Confidence in a Sexist World. And that book is called Get Empowered. All right, Dr. Nee, why is Vivek Ramaswamy, other than, I guess, for reasons to get 5 minutes of fame and get some airtime, why is he making outrageous statements like he's going to fire 75% of all federal workers and restructure the government and get rid of all of these important departments like Department of Education, the FBI of all agencies, the Food and Nutrition Services, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. I mean, the list goes on and on. Donald Trump used that same extremist language and had those same proposed policy plans. They went nowhere, and he lost the election. So if you're going to, pattern yourself after someone, wouldn't you pick a winner?
Well, and it also depends on what he defines as winning. I mean, is he running to be president, or is he running to, make money off of running for president? He certainly would not be alone in that endeavor. But I think there are a lot of minions out there that are modeling themselves off of Donald Trump. And I think Vivek is one of them. And it seems to have given a shot in the arm to his campaign very, very, very quickly. And so, here he is peddling in grievance politics. That seems to work well for Republicans that are trying to woo the MAGA constituency in particular in terms of supporting them. So he's telling MAGA voters what they want to hear, even though this Ivy League educated
who shouldn't have a grievance in the world, right?
Right. He knows better. That's what makes it so bad. He knows better. We know he's playing them, and some of the wiser Republicans know that he's playing them. The question is, are they going to figure that out, before the GOP primaries begin, or once he secures the nomination, for a president or makes it on the ticket? I mean, he feels like a grifter to me. But
he's a billionaire, so I don't think he needs the money. I think he does it for the attention, because we know lots of billionaires have, money isn't their issue, but they are really starving for attention. They're starving to be on the national stage. And this guy seems like, he'll say or do anything, contradict himself, even in a book that he wrote, change his mind about Juneteenth. I mean, he's all over the place. If you follow him, he says one thing on Monday and something completely different by Tuesday night. And nothing he said, most of what he says is just word salad, gibberish nonsense, like getting rid of the FBI and, having the authority as the president to even restructure federal government in that way. Is just absurd. And he knows it's absurd. I can't wait to the next Republican debates, because I know Mike Pence, Chris Christie, Nikki Haley, they have such disdain for him. So we saw how they handled him in that first debate. And I suspect that they have more of that waiting for him in debate number 2 that comes up in less than 2 weeks. It's going to be here in California at the Ronald Reagan Library. So we'll get to see what the other candidates do with Vivek Ramaswamy and his great ideal of, firing 75% of the government. But let's talk about this breaking news around Hunter Biden, Isaac. We knew it was coming. We knew once the plea deal that he had worked out with the Justice Department blew up when they were in court a month ago, that this indictment was coming. We know there's been tremendous pressure from Republicans to indict Hunter Biden because of allegations that somehow Joe Biden has protected him. The IRS has protected him. This even Department of Justice prosecutor, they accuse him of protecting Hunter. But he's indicted on a gun charge, a charge that arguably is not going to withstand muster at the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court has already opined on these kinds of charges. But yet Merrick Garland's appointed special counsel indicts him anyhow. What impact is this going to have on the Biden-Harris campaign?
It has no bearing, because we see it as just somebody's child is in trouble. That happens every day in America. What children don't get in trouble with the law at some point or sometimes. So it's something that's going to blow over, and the American people won't be fooled by it. Now, Republicans and their supporters will make some talk about it, and they'll fuss about it, another tagline on the news and on social media. But as far as the majority of this country, they're not going to let this get in the way. of electing Joe Biden back as our president. So this is hogwash.
So, Nee, again, Republicans looking for their false equivalency, impeach Donald Trump, impeach Joe Biden, criminal, corrupt Biden family, son who's profiting from the vice presidency, Biden, who they say is the most corrupt elected official in our history. They want to know how he's able to afford these homes that he owns. How can he afford those leather loafers that he wears? It has to be taking money from, foreign entities and involved in some kind of nefarious conspiracy with his son. Now, Isaac says it blows over, but do you think the tie-in that they're trying to make that Joe Biden and his entire family is corrupt, that might stick?
I think Democrats would be wise to communicate about this, to get out in front about this, because look, the facts may end up, exonerating Hunter Biden. The facts may bear out and prove that, President Biden, was not a part of this and was not engaged. But in the meantime, in the court of public opinion, I think we will find it to be so polluted by the other side if Democrats don't speak up about this. I think there are a number of electeds on the Hill, Democrats, that really wish that President Biden and his team could have been a bit more forthcoming in terms of helping them to understand, what these allegations were all about, what they entailed, what was real, what wasn't. But here we are today, and the president is running for re-election with his son, who has been indicted, and that hasn't really happened before. I mean, I've got to go back and look through history, but about the last president, who had a family member that was indicted while they were in office. This is a distraction that nobody running for re-election would want.
Well, and we know, Dr. Nee, Biden has been very close-lipped. And the word is he's let his staff know, like, this is off limits. I'm not talking about my son. Will that work? I mean, the indictment is here now. He's going to be showing up in court. There's going to be court appearances. There may be a trial that gets started at the beginning of next year where he'd have to give testimony. And Biden, in theory, could be called as a witness in that trial. Not likely that he would be forced to testify, but it is happening. So can Joe Biden and Kamala Harris continue to make this an off-limits conversation?
I don't think they can make it an off-limits conversation. And Areva, this is why. Part of why they ran for office was to restore not just the soul of our nation, but to restore faith in our government, right? And if somehow, some way we feel like maybe the rules don't apply to Trump and maybe the rules don't apply to Biden, and so, should people have faith in the system? And so I think that's part of what's at stake here. And Areva, I would add that I think it cast Vice President Harris in a leadership role that I don't think anybody could imagine for a modern vice president, right? I mean, I think, while this is playing out in courts, the Hunter Biden case and Trump's cases, right? There are some folks that may be looking at the president suspiciously. I think it's important that the vice president, in everything that she does, is able to continue to inspire faith in what government can do. And so I think we're going to see, the vice president become an even more important player in the Biden-Harris reelection campaign.
But when we come forward, Isaac, I want to ask you, is the vice president going to become more important because she's going to be the attack dog on these issues, or is she going to try to, stay above the fray and keep focusing on the accomplishments of the administration? And, which of those strategies is going to be the most effective strategy to get them across the finish line when we come forward? Answers to that question and more right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
In
Access granted.
a In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a red spot. Shot with a red spot. Shot with a red spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Bounce is back.
Here comes the brand new flavor in your head.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head. Yeah.
This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the time, brothers. This is the time.
We've got something for everybody.
That's right.
Health and healing, history and humor, issues and events, empowerment and entertainment, all in one station.
What's really going on?
Free enterprise, you dig?
KBLA Talk 1580. Yes. Oh, yeah.
All right, Isaac, it's your turn. What is the message that the president and vice president, must or should deliver on Hunter Biden's indictment? They've been mum about it, and Biden has made it clear to his staff, I don't want to talk about it. That's my baby. That's my son. So he's doing what any good parent would do, which is to try to protect the mental health and the stability of his son, his only remaining son, because his other son died, unfortunately, of cancer. You're a Democratic strategist. What is the play here?
Play is that him and the vice president come out and do a joint press conference. You let him do the personal stuff. He tell what his involvement was, and just tell the truth. Vice President Kamala Harris gets up with a message to the country that we're doing this because we want transparency in our government. We are restoring faith in government. And she goes to her background of what was supposed to happen. How is this supposed to go? Is it going in the right way that it's supposed to go? Because she was a former attorney general. So she knows the process. So if you can't believe her and saying that, hey, it's going in the right direction, there are no shortcuts that we took, I think you get the country on your side, and you do restore that faith.
Isaac, I've been saying that all along, that one of the problems here is we don't know what Hunter did through the lenses of the Democrats and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We know what the Republicans are accusing them. We don't believe that. And also these charges. You're right. Kamala Harris is a former prosecutor, former attorney general. Tell us, how often in this country is someone ever charged for this? Tell us, Hunter Biden had a gun for 11 days. It was never loaded. he never used it in a commission of a crime. In all of my 30 years as a prosecutor, I never once prosecuted a case like this. I talked to my prosecutor friends. These are not cases that are typically prosecuted. And now it puts you at odds with your Department of Justice, but to me, it shows that the Department of Justice is not in the pocket of the president. The Department of Justice, is independent. It acts on its own, but I think it does let the American people know how ridiculous and how political these charges are. And really, the DOJ is just responding to the pressure from the Republicans. But when you hear a gun charge, you're thinking the guy's out there with a gun, maybe he's shooting it, all kinds of things come to mind around violence. And this case is not that case. So I think they have an opportunity to win on this issue, but they have to not run from it. Got to step into it. And as you said, be honest, be transparent, and then explain. Kamala, you are a prosecutor. People will listen to you. They know you know this issue better than anyone. So I just hope they're listening to us, and I hope we start to see some of that. Let's talk before we run out of time. Detroit, Dr. Nee, you've spent a lot of time in Detroit. You were doing a show out of Detroit. These union workers, when I first saw that they wanted a 40% increase, my mind said, ooh, that's a lot of money. But then I read that these freaking executives have gotten that much over the last 4 years, and that automakers are experiencing record profits, some of these automakers. Why is it in this country, with all of this wealth, is there still such a huge gap between the folks in the C-suites and the folks in these warehouses, doing the work that puts cars on the streets?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably one of the most important questions of our time, not just of this election cycle, but of our time. It's not just the auto workers, but it's the Screen Actors Guild, it's the Writers Guild, it's the Amazon workers. I mean, the list goes on and on. In the past couple of years alone, how many strikes have we seen? How many contract negotiations have we seen break down? And break down in part because there is such a gap between the income that the folks at the top make versus the rank and file worker, right? And so, look. America's a capitalist country. There's no signs of that changing anytime soon. But this is just another reminder that we have got to engage in a conversation that helps us to reimagine what is our social compact with one another. What is the social compact in the 21st century between rank and file workers and their leadership? And the more we see headlines like this come out where, executives in the auto industry that was saved not too long ago, by the way, thanks to the help of government intervention.
Our tax-paying dollars.
Those are public dollars. So public dollars help save the industry. We have senior executives who are profiting off of sort of the resurgence of the industry, and we have rank and file workers who are left behind. And so, if anything, I don't think they're expecting a 40% increase, but I think, they put that 40% figure out there to make a point, to get people's attention, and to remind everyday people how ridiculous, some of these compensation packages are for executives compared to the rank and file. And today, it's the auto workers and the SAG workers and the writers union and tomorrow, it could be any one of us.
Yeah, and it's sad to me that the 40%, and you're right, it's a negotiating, starting number, and it's likely to be negotiated, maybe even cut in half by the time they get to a deal. But that's what the workers have to be willing to do, to compromise, to reach a deal, whereas the salaries of these executives, whether it's the studio executives in the case of the SAG, AFTRA, and the writers, or it's the auto executives, we don't ever expect them to give up anything. We don't expect them to freeze their salaries in the way that we know oftentimes wages are frozen. There are no increases at all, or, cost of living, maybe it's a 2%, 3% increase. But in the case of these executives, the increases are, unlimited. And many of them are making, 8, 9, 10 figures salaries, and workers are barely making enough to pay for rent and car expenses and health insurance and childcare. And yes, we are a capitalist country, and I'm not advocating, for socialism, but there has to be some point at which the growth, the wealth that these companies experience is shared in a way that workers aren't having to live with, roommates because they can't afford their rent, or go without childcare, or go without food, or go without because the salaries are so low. Real quickly, Governor DeSantis's chief medical officer, who was run out of UCLA, has told everybody in the state of Florida, if you're under 65 years old, don't get the vaccine that's been recommended by the CDC, approved by the FDA. How dangerous is that, Isaac?
Very dangerous, because you got people really believing these Republicans and believing what these right-wing people are saying. And so it's going to cost someone their life. So if you need the vaccine, you need to go get the vaccine, and stop playing this dangerous game with the Republicans. Don't listen to them at all.
Yeah, I had a doctor on the show yesterday. We talked about COVID. Literally, 300,000 people died of COVID that didn't have to die. Preventable deaths because they were not vaccinated. And the largest proportion of those people are white males who have bought into this, extremist rhetoric on the right, anti-vaxxers. And that's really, really sad. So don't listen to the governor or the health official in Florida. Talk to your own doctor about what your health needs are, and follow your own physician, follow the CDC. But that advice is just crazy. We are out of time. Always a pleasure, Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. Again, check him out next week, starting Monday through Fridays, 1 p.m. PST, 4 p.m. EST. His show, A More Perfect Union. He is KBLA's national political affairs analyst. Always a pleasure, my friend. Isaac Wilson, Democratic strategist, is headed to the Congressional Black Caucus next week. I will see both of you there. Lots of opportunities for Dems to get their act together and get ready, planning for 2024. When we come forward, hour 2, it's all about women empowerment right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Gifted and black. At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolence